Hey Stillwater, welcome to the Still Connect podcast, the show all about our amazing town, Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm your host, Denver Evans. I grew up right here and now run Stillwater Digital Marketing. So this place is home through and through. Almost every week, I sit down for a laid-back chat with someone who's helping build the community in Stillwater. Whether you've been here forever or you're just dropping by, this is your spot to plug in, hear some great stories, and feel a little more connected to the people who make Stillwater what it is. Here's the best part. This is a mobile video podcast, so I've recorded all of these interviews in these local businesses. So if you like watching your podcasts, check them out on Spotify or YouTube. I'm very excited about today's episode. I'm here with Amy Dzialowski, the Vice Mayor of the City of Stillwater. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me here to the City of Stillwater to have this conversation.
Yes, it's always exciting for me to be in City Hall and see everything that's happening. All our folks busy at work, so.
Fantastic. So maybe just give people some background. Tell us how you got here.
Wow, how I got to be Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just involved in government, like the whole...
Sure.
We have all the time in the world.
Sure. So my family moved here to Stillwater in 2007. My husband accepted a position as a faculty member at Oklahoma State University. And my background, my professional background is in urban planning. So I get a chance in my real job to work all over the country helping communities with redevelopment and kind of reinvigorating their downtowns and revitalization. And when we moved to Stillwater, I thought, wow, there's so much that we could do in our own community. And I have a really great story actually of why I'm actually here. So there was a position open on City Council, and somebody had been encouraging me to apply. There was a point, sometimes when there's just a short amount of time left in a term, they'll just appoint somebody to the position until the next election cycle so that we're not having to constantly pay for elections.
Right.
So there was one of those positions open, and somebody was encouraging me, and I was talking with my family and wondering if that was really what I wanted to do. And at the same time, my son Bennett was in middle school, and he was thinking about being on student council.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, oh, Bennett, you have to do it. We're world changers in our family. You know, you have to do it. You have to do it. And he said, I'll do it if you do it, Mom. And I said, okay, game on. So I put my name in the hat to be appointed to the council position. And I was selected by the council at that time to do that. And I had just a few months, I think from May until December was when the election was. And so I decided to run at that point. And so I've been on council. And then the vice mayor position, all of us, even the mayor, are council members. The mayor is elected separately as mayor. And the vice mayor is kind of selected amongst council. So when Elaine Zanotti came off council, she was our previous vice mayor, to join the chamber, lead the chamber. I was selected to be the vice mayor.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So when exactly was that?
So I've been vice mayor for, I guess it's been 2 years now, but I've been on council since 2018. So I'm in the middle of my second elected term.
Great.
Yeah.
So what's that time been like?
Oh my goodness. Well,
'Cause I guess you started pre-COVID.
I started
So-
pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So obviously COVID was a really interesting time to be serving in local government. But it's been really overall, I mean, COVID aside, it's been really fulfilling and really exciting to be supporting things that are happening in my own community. So things that impact my family and my friends and just the community, and serving my community has been a really impactful thing for me. I've really loved it.
That's great. So what are some city projects that you've worked on that you're really excited about or proud of, and some that are up and coming that you're excited about?
Sure. So right as I was joining council, I was serving on the board of Maya's Promise, which is a nonprofit here in town that supports children and family that with special needs. And we were working on a park project, and that involved collaboration with the City of Stillwater. So right as I was coming onto council, we were working, Maya's Promise was working with SMAC, so the high school students at Stillwater High School, and we were redeveloping Strickland Park. With an inclusive and adaptive playground. So, and I got to finish that as a part of council, which is really a heartstring project for me. I have a child who has special needs, and so it was really, really special to work with not only Maya's Promise, to work with the high school students, but then also to work with our community. We got a State Farm grant that involved everyone in our community voting for that project, which we won that grant, and then just seeing our city staff committed to that project and seeing it ultimately come into fruition has just been really exciting and fun.
That's great
to see. Yeah. But I think beyond that, I've been on council while we've been thinking about Block 34.
Right.
Now to see Block 34 just on the precipice of opening is
at the time we're
very
recording
exciting.
this, it is July 14th, so 12 days away from the grand opening.
So close.
Not sure when this is going to release exactly, but soon.
So close. So that's super exciting. And I've had a chance to tour. We all have kind of maybe been around the block on the outskirts, but I've had a chance to go into the interior of the block and just to see the caliber of finishes and just the intention that's gone into the building of that space and the design of that space. I just can't believe that our community is getting something like that.
Yeah.
And as an urban planner, I love and treasure spaces that connect people. And this is just exactly that space for us now in Stillwater. I'm just so excited for the live music, for the events, for the gathering, and everything that's going to happen there.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Block 34 Live. I'm actually helping with some of the marketing for Block 34 Live, so I've kind of seen the inside of that, and we're really excited, of course. Huge shout out to Kicker for all of the funding for Block 34 Live and even helping get the space started in the first place. But also, huge thank you to Stillwater, City of Stillwater, for updating all of the utilities and everything around
some
it.
of the infrastructure.
I know you guys kicked in a ton. I think Jim Beckstrom was on the podcast talking about it a little while back. And the infrastructure improvements are going to help.
It's
make
really
the events
important,
there.
right?
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
When we have people investing like Kicker and Simmons Bank and all the other entities and individuals that have donated, the city has to come alongside and invest, also in the public spaces beyond. I mean, it's a city-owned space, but in the infrastructure that kind of weaves together these spaces. So having stormwater improvements that make sure that the block is kind of protected from any drainage issues, which can be a challenge in our downtown spaces sometimes, and making sure that the streets are improved. It's really, really important to making those investments successful.
Absolutely, and it looks amazing. If you haven't driven by Block 34, drive by Block 34.
Please drive by
it's
Block
really
34. Great. I'm really excited to start to see our community imagining all the things that can happen there. Just seems limitless as you drive around the block. There's so many places and spaces for different kinds of users and different parts of our community to come together.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting. So what is kind of not necessarily a day in the life as a city council member, but just kind of what does it look like to actually be on city council? Because you hear people say, city council decided this, city council decided that. We know that, there's the meeting once a month, but what does it look like kind of behind the scenes?
Sure. So interesting. So people may not realize, for the most part, this is purely a service, a volunteer service. We get a very small paycheck each meeting.
And it's per meeting, and it's a very small amount. Yeah. So you're not on staff.
So our time is really, we're not on staff. I think that's a really important distinction for people to understand. So our time is really donated time. So for the most part, we have meetings usually twice a month, and our official city council meetings. And then a lot of meetings kind of with the community, just, a lot of coffee or lunches or phone calls kind of in between. And then some study time for us as well. So if there's things that are coming to our council meeting, we get, the agenda and the packet and all the things that go with that. Lots of conversations with staff to understand, what was the process in going into these topics and these decisions. What are some of the challenges that we need to know of kind of behind the scenes, since we're not here every day. That's, I think, the hardest thing for me is we're not here, on a day-to-day basis, on an hour-to-hour basis to know exactly everything that's happening behind the scenes. We kind of see it to the point where it's packaged and ready for public viewing for the most part. So that can be a challenge to really understand all the background and detail. So we spend quite a bit of time working with staff and also working with the community to understand if there's a rezoning thing that's coming up, or if there's a budget decision that we have coming up. And, it's really up to the staff. The day-to-day operations of the city is up to the staff. We develop policy and work through land planning and zoning and things like that. But for the most part, the day-to-day sits with our city management office and the folks, all these amazing people that run our city.
That's great. So what does your personal workflow look like? Do you have like a home office where you take care of everything?
Do.
Or?
So we all have day jobs, all of us. So we're kind of fitting it in where we can. Fortunately, all of us have flexible employers that let us do that. But I do have a home office. If I need to meet somebody, we try to meet here at the city if we can. Of course, we have, we can sit in our conference rooms like we are here today, or meet them for coffee. And it really just depends. I think what I love about our council right now is that everyone kind of has their a set of skills or kind of passions that helps we're not all kind of piling on each other onto staff. I think that would be so overwhelming for staff. But I do a lot. I serve on the Parks and Recreations kind of subcommittee. And then with my planning background, I'm really interested in planning and development. And so anytime those topics are coming up, I try to lean in on those topics because it's my background. And then I do quite a bit with I'm also serve on our lead our tourism and group that kind of works with some of the discretionary funds that come from our lodging tax. So I support that. But then we have Councilor Hawkins, who has a financial background. So a lot of times she'll lean in on some of the budget items and things like that. So I love to see our council work together that way, which is really neat. But so I think for the most part, we try, you can't possibly, because we all have full-time jobs, lean into every single topic. But if we have questions or if it's something that we think we can, bring specific advice or counsel to, we do try to work with staff kind of on a one-to-one basis on those types of projects. So I've been really interested in supporting Block 34 because of its just community space and parks and recreation and some of the just parks and recreation overhaul that we're doing right now in the city as well.
That's great. So could you give us kind of a rundown of who's on city council? And just kind of how that body operates?
Sure. So obviously Mayor Will Joyce is our mayor. I'm vice mayor, and then Councilor Hawkins, Christy Hawkins. She works at OSU. Again, she's got a kind of a financial background. And then we have Councilor Kevin Clark. He also has a financial background, has been really active in the community, in the school board previously, so has some great insight on that. And then we also have Councilor Tim Harden. He has worked, is super active in the community with Rotary and different community organizations, has worked at OSU, and I believe he served on the airport trust board prior as well. So we it's always impressive, the people that are willing and able to commit their time to serve the community in this way. I'm always so grateful for the rest of council and all the work that they do, and really proud. I get to work with city councils all over the country, and not every city council is as functional and full of integrity as ours. So I'm really proud to serve with the counselors that I serve with.
That's really great. That's really great. So yeah, kind of comparing Stillwater to some of the other places that either you've worked with or you've lived here. You said 2007 is when you moved here. So yeah, so you've been here 18 years.
Yes.
What has your experience in Stillwater been like? And where were you before?
So I went to school. My husband and I did grad school at the University of Kansas. Okay. So we were in Lawrence, and there as grown-ups, I guess, for a little bit as well. Great college town. Was sad to leave, but so excited once we got kind of embedded in the Stillwater community. But I think, it's interesting. I think as we were here, when we first moved here, I wasn't tracking local politics. I had a small child with special needs, and then I had another baby. But I think once my kids started to grow and just my interest in development and urban planning, I started kind of tracking a little bit more, just hoping to see Stillwater kind of steering in a direction of just quality growth and development. And I think it's been, I know in the time that I have been here, there's been a tremendous growth trajectory in terms of just infilling in our busyness of downtown and starting to see projects like Block 34 or Stone Cloud or Hatch, that whole kind of part of our downtown. And then just the investment and thought that's being made with the tax increment finance district, that's that downtown to campus link.
So describe that a little bit for people who maybe don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a really hard topic most of us don't, you start talking about ad valorem taxes and you lose people pretty quickly. But really, I think one thing that people might be interested to know is that Oklahoma is the only state in the whole country where city government, municipal government is funded through sales tax only. Mostly. Most other states, the cities have access to a much larger chunk of property tax. So your ad valorem tax that comes from houses and commercial development. We're the only state in the country that doesn't. So municipal finance is actually very challenging in states, well, in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It is in other states too, but it's that layer really makes it complicated so when we look at things like infrastructure and incentives for development and other states, or other communities that are using tools like tax increments finance have kind of a leg up. So right as I was starting in 2018 on council, that's when we passed. That was our first ad valorem tax increment finance district. When you go to cities like Oklahoma City, they have probably dozens of these districts across the city and even layered in. And basically what it does is it allows us, so when a property is maybe undeveloped or underutilized, it's not valued, the tax value is not as high, it kind of sets that base level. And then if we take this increment, so then if we develop or incentivize development, and we increase the tax base, it allows us to take that increment and pull it back into that district. So it allows us to help with infrastructure, so roads and sidewalks and all
so
the
a portion
things
of that goes back to the city.
That's right. And so it allows us to kind of allows us to use that, and it helps raise the tax base. And it helps us really create an incentive for development in areas where it can be really hard for developers to pencil out a development that works otherwise.
Yeah. So when you say that the municipalities are funded by sales tax, is that any sort of specific, I guess, like margin of sales tax, so let's say someone buys something online. Does any portion of that go back to City of Stillwater?
So your sales tax. So probably I'm going to get the numbers a little bit wrong because it changes a little bit. But so it's about, I think it's a little over 8% when we go, like if you go to Walmart, your sales tax.
Yeah.
So a certain portion of that goes to the state, and then a certain portion of that goes to the city.
Right.
And the cities, I think it's at 4 or 5 cents, I think, if I remember correctly. And that's actually, even within Stillwater, is split up even more. So we have a designated penny of that sales tax that goes to transportation projects, which is really important. It's really hard to maintain our roads. I know everybody has a favorite pothole or a road that they would love to see improved.
Yes.
So having that penny sales tax, and we recently just voted. We used to have a half cent portion that went to transportation, we recently voted to raise that to a penny.
Very nice.
So that's designated. So those dollars get pushed aside and only go towards transportation infrastructure projects. And then the rest of it funds city government, which is pretty remarkable when you think about and you start looking at what all city government does. So that includes police and fire, which is a huge portion of our municipal government and budget. And then the rest has, we've got planning and public works and parks and rec and city manager's office. So there's really, when it comes down to it, those core functions, there's very little of that pie that's left after we pay for police and fire with kind of the limited funds that we receive as sales tax. And, think about in these modern times what sales tax looks like in a small community. So often, when we say shop local, it's impactful for us because if you're going out to Oklahoma City or Tulsa to do your shopping, they get those sales tax dollars, not us. And that's how we fund. So when we want better parks and better roads and all the things.
If you want your pothole fixed, shop local.
Yep, shop local. That's right. And you don't realize it, and that seems kind of cliche to say shop local. But for us in a small community, it's more than just support your friends and neighbors that might have local business. It's give us, the ability to do the things from a city perspective that we would love to see.
The things that many of us want anyways.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it means a little extra.
Yeah, that's great. So if someone wanted to learn more about local government, city government, what are some of those first steps they should take?
Oh my goodness. Well, it would be great. We would love for people to know more about local government and city government. I'm surprised sometimes as I navigate the community just how few people really understand, what a city councilor does and what our city government actually does. Some folks get confused that maybe we help run the schools. We don't run the schools, right? We just run the city. So, or may not understand that, police and fire is such a big part of our budget or just kind of what that looks like. So we have some really great resources on our website. So City of Stillwater, OK.gov website. Just some great opportunities. You can look at our budget. That's all out there and transparent for folks to see. Look at the different departments. So our utilities, we're really fortunate in Stillwater. We're a community power, so we have our own utility, which is really great. But you can there's information there on that. There's information on Block 34, and then of course, all of our parks and rec. And of course, I think any of our city councilors are always eager and anxious to explain a little bit more about what we do and why we do it and how we do it.
That's great. So what do you wish people knew about Stillwater? And that can be like City of Stillwater, just Stillwater as a whole, that maybe people don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been this last couple of years, I've been working in a fellowship program with the George Kaiser Family Foundation. It's called 1050 Forward. And the focus of the fellowship is micropolitan communities. And Stillwater is a micropolitan community. So it's micropolitan, new word. So it's a community between 10,000 and 50,000. And I've really learned a lot through that fellowship program about the importance of micropolitans. In communities like Stillwater, we really serve as a regional hub for a lot of the smaller rural communities around us. And I think I always knew that. But when you look, and there's really great and really cool research that shows that the health and vibrancy of our micropolitans, so communities like Stillwater, directly correlates to the kind of vitality and health of the rural communities around us. So the stronger Stillwater is as a commercial health and education hub, the stronger and better off our rural communities around us are. And I've just really leaned into that as like a really strong sense of purpose in what we're doing here in Stillwater. It's not just about our community. It's about, the Perrys and Perkins and Cushings and Coils and, even those, because they rely on Stillwater to be healthy and vibrant and have all the services that their communities don't have.
Because if Stillwater doesn't provide the services, they're stuck going to Oklahoma City or Tulsa.
Yeah.
Right.
And so really you start thinking about that and you start thinking, it's really important that we're investing in our hospital. It's really important that we have strong schools. It's really important that we are promoting ourselves as an economic development hub, because across the country, over 40% of rural populations commute into micropolitan centers for employment. So while we worry about the people that are leaving Stillwater to go to Oklahoma City to work, there's people that are coming from rural places into Stillwater to work. So I've really been leaning into that word, and I've been really just using that idea as a, kind of a North Star for just how important every project that we work on is, not just for our community, but for the region that surrounds us.
Yeah, that's great. Very cool word, micropolitan.
Yeah. Kind of gives us an identity a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's very true, because I feel like so many people feel like Stillwater is kind of niche in that way, is that, it's small but big, but...
Yeah, we describe ourselves like that a lot, don't we?
That's what, I think a majority of the people on the podcast have said. It feels small, but we have access to the things that we need.
Yes.
And also we're a short distance from two very large metropolitan areas. So
yes. And so micropolitan, that hits it, but it's really interesting to see the research on those size communities. And we've been working in partnership through the fellowship with communities like Muskogee, Ada. So they're on the smaller side of that range, but really understanding, how do we bring these micropolitan kind of issues, to the forefront with our state legislature, or how do we learn from each other, because we have there's unique challenges that come, right? We're not so big like Oklahoma City, where developers
we're not dealing with Edmond problems, we're dealing with Stillwater problems, but we're also not working. But we're not working with maybe Perkins problems. It's a very unique kind of space.
There's, I think,
micropolitan. I'm gonna say that to everyone now.
I know. Did you know?
Yeah.
There's 16, I think, micropolitans in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, that makes sense. All those kind of medium-sized places like Stillwater that are about an hour away from Oklahoma City or Tulsa, in a diameter that have a lot of small towns around them. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I think the purpose that comes with that, I mean, Stillwater's enough, right? But it's just understanding that the health of our community is, I know that people really treasure those rural spaces, and for them to kind of stay viable and working, they need us to be really growing and excelling. Yeah,
absolutely. And we are now providing a lot more great entertainment with Block 34. And, I know that OSU in and of itself is a huge entertainment hub, employment hub for a lot of people around. I had the opportunity to work in Cushing for like 9 months a while back, almost 10 years ago now, actually. And I was just shocked by how many people I said, "What do you do?" And they go, "Oh, I work at Stillwater Medical Center. Oh, I work at Kicker. I work," and like people who, do that 30-minute commute every day. And there were just so many people who you kind of don't realize that you just interact with. It's like, no, they drive home to a completely different town at the end of the day. And it's really kind of fascinating to see how much of that like flow in and out that we have in this community.
For sure. But it's a good reminder of just why things that we're doing here are so important, and building, quality of life projects like Block 34 that help, draw those folks back to Stillwater. Of course, we want them to spend their money here.
Yeah, of course.
All the things.
It helps, right? Because we want better roads for when they are here.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We promise to invest them back, those dollars back. So, but it's also, I think personally, and then this is some of the other research that we've learned in the fellowship that I've been participating in, is that places like Stillwater, where it's the kind of melding of urban and rural, it has, there can be really divergent, political thoughts coming from those types of communities. And I think we're kind of a good example of just how to be pragmatic and get over those differences and just get down to work and do the things that we need to do. I think it can kind of moderate some of that extremism and viewpoints, right? Whether it's a rural viewpoint or an urban viewpoint, we kind of have both here, and we kind of just have to work together and do all the things together, and we get through that. I think we're a really good kind of laboratory for how other places might do that as well.
Right. Stillwater definitely is a diverse place in that way, and I think a lot of that comes from having both of those sides.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to people all the time that say, I don't want Stillwater to grow. This is, it has that rural, sensibility and kind of mindset to it. And, other people that are, I see this growth and I'm so excited to see more. And, I think there's, it's part of our job on council is kind of helping to figure out, the pace and do that smartly and sustainably and, and all of those things, kind of keep the soul and spirit of our community, but also make sure that we have the things we need and to support, the future and hopefully make it a place that our kids want to come back to.
Yeah, it's a great place. My wife's actually from Tulsa, and she came here for school. And one of the things that we would always kind of joke about, but that she said that she really liked when she first came here is like, it's really nice, but you can also drive 10 minutes and see cows. Like you can go for a beautiful country drive very easily,
That's
but
so
also
true.
You have access to anything really that you would need.
It's so
right
interesting.
Here in town.
I've always lived in a micropolitan. When I was at KU for school, that was slightly bigger than a micropolitan. But I've always, for me, Stillwater is still kind of a smaller town. And I've always thought there's a few other things, like everybody wants a Target and those kinds
Everyone
of things.
Wants a Target.
But there are some people that don't, which is interesting to me. But I recently, this last year, academic year, went and spoke to a real estate class at OSU. And I was so interested to hear from the students. All of them, without exception, were from the smaller communities around the state. And Stillwater was the biggest place that they had ever lived. Yep. And they, instead of talking about, I wish it had this restaurant or it doesn't have this or it doesn't have that, they all said, I love, it has exactly what I need. I couldn't imagine being in a bigger place, and it was just a really different vantage point coming from a more rural community where they don't have a Starbucks,
right?
And we have two. So I mean, they're like, this is all I need. I don't need it to be any bigger. I'm like, but what about Target?
Okay, so can you answer the question of why we don't have a Target? Because so many people, I've heard so many different stories and versions, and some people say the 3 months in the summer when students aren't here would make it be dead, or they only open in communities of 100,000 plus.
Yes. So 50,000 is kind of, that's a really important demographic number.
Okay.
From all different vantage points. So I get to work with private developers all over the country. Some that help develop targets.
Right.
And that 50,000 mark is a important demographic indicator. So there's certain companies, businesses, franchises, those types of things that just won't consider a market that is less than 50,000. And Target is one of them.
Yeah.
And I think, we, in this last census, which happened during the pandemic, we probably would have hit over 50,000 if it wasn't happening during the pandemic.
So on the other end of that spectrum, when we do hit that 50,000 mark, does that mean that there's potential for a lot more chain restaurants to come in? Because I feel like some people on kind of the shop local side would be concerned about that and would almost want and hope for us to stay,
Yeah.
away from that.
They always have to do any business coming. It's so funny that, right? One of the big things in town is like, why do we have so many chicken restaurants? And
I was going to say chicken restaurants, car washes, and
all the things. What's interesting is I think people, they might be surprised to know that we on council have no control over the number of chicken restaurants that are coming in.
Good to know. So don't complain to you.
Right? It's not my personal choice to have all the chicken restaurants here.
Right.
But what we do have control over is the land zoning and classification. So, and then from there it's private, it's business. It's a business model.
Right.
So if somebody has a business case or portfolio that says, I think I can make it as a chicken restaurant in this location that is zoned commercial for a restaurant, doesn't matter what kind of restaurant. All we say is it could be a restaurant if it wants to be.
Right.
That really has nothing to do with us. It's just that if it's zoned for commercial.
Maybe chicken restaurants just look for communities of 40,000 plus.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
That's when they all started
or
looking.
Or maybe college kids. I don't know what it
is.
But, or maybe we just as Americans eat a lot of chicken. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, so, same with, if we hit that 50,000 mark, that might be a trigger for, more chains to consider us as a community, but they would still have to, work through a business model, right? Does it make sense for me to locate? Can I find a property to locate? All the things that a normal, a local business would also have to go through. So, but there's some, things are changing a little bit with our current administration at the federal level, but there are also some historic programs that kind of can come in when you hit that 50,000 threshold. So the Community Development Block Grant, we receive one of those grants every year. Traditionally in that program, if you're 50,000 and above, you're an entitlement community and you get a certain set aside. So you have access to more of those dollars, which help with development or different projects that are happening, maybe even affordable housing and those types of things. So, and I think also at the business level, there might be financial tools that are available even from, private sector, kind of once you hit a certain demographic.
Interesting. So yeah, there really are a lot of things that mark changes.
Does.
So when's our next census?
So our last one was in 2020, and they do them every 10 years.
10 years, so 2030.
So we've got a little bit of work. I know Mayor Joyce was really trying hard to help our college population understand that they live in Stillwater 9 months out of the year or longer, and they should consider themselves Stillwater residents. But that's always confusing. Even my own son, we had to have a conversation when he moved to Oklahoma City to go to college. He was going to be registering to vote for the first time.
Yeah, where do I register to vote?
Where do I register to vote? Should I register to vote here in Oklahoma City, where I'm living now more of the time? And so we had big conversations at our house about, and that's coming from a place of maybe a little more knowledge than the average person. So.
So to kind of wrap this up, what is your favorite thing about Stillwater?
Oh my gosh. I think everybody would say this, but it's the people. It's the people that make this place. Makes me a little teary to think about it. I've lived and I've worked everywhere all over the country, and I think the people, I've never met a more giving and philanthropic and when you live here, for the most part, I hope this is everyone's experience when they're here, but you're just kind of scooped up by this community. We saw it during the wildfires. I've been helping with the wildfire relief, and it was overwhelming, to be honest, most days, to just see the outpouring of love and giving from our community. But I think you see that every day, not just in those kind of tragic circumstances. And I think it's what brings people back here. And I think it's what keeps us going. It's really what makes us as vibrant as we are.
That's a perfect answer. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Still Connect. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. And if you loved today's episode, don't forget to follow the podcast on social for highlights, updates, and more. Also, be sure to share the podcast with all of your Stillwater friends so that we can grow the podcast and our community. If you believe in building community through these conversations, consider supporting the podcast on Patreon, where for less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can get early access to episodes, a peek behind the curtain at the podcast process, and a shout out on an episode. With a higher contribution, you can submit questions for upcoming guests, make special requests for the show, get access to online Q&As, and even be on the podcast for an interview segment. No matter what your capacity for supporting the podcast is, every little bit helps grow this amazing community, and we all need community. So even when life gets busy, make sure you still connect.